Hello and welcome to another episode of the Firearms Insider Gun and Gear Review Podcast. This is episode 79. On this show, we showcase gun reviews, gear, and anything else a gun enthusiast may be looking for. We strive to evaluate products from an unbiased and honest perspective. I'm your host, Ryan Cross from the Firearms Radio Network, your source for broadcasts for shooters, hunters, and gun enthusiasts. Today I have with me three special guests, or I should rather say one special guest and two guests you've already heard from. We got TJ, we got Chad, and then we got Tony, brand new to the show. So welcome on, guys.
Come on, Ryan. Me and Chad aren't special.
You are special, but only the short bus technicality.
Yeah,
Wow,
that's what I
feel the
figured.
love.
So,
there's lots here.
Oh yeah. So Tony, thanks for joining us on the show. It's great to have you on, and you can go ahead and start when I ask the question, what'd you guys do in guns this week?
What did I do in guns this week? Well, Thursday, I had a Second Amendment, pro Second Amendment diversity shoot at Gun for Hire Range in Woodland Park, New Jersey. I decided to get together, actually start up a Second Amendment group, a pro Second Amendment group with non-traditional or non-stereotypical firearms owners. African Americans, just pretty much anybody that wants to come out, women, Asians, anybody who wants to come out and shoot that's not seen as a typical gun owner. And I started it during Black History Month. That was the first one. I had a few people out and pretty much doubled this time around. Gun for Hire, it's a premier range in the state, and they allowed us to have free reign over their 50-yard range. And we brought people in. I started talking to them about the Second Amendment and why it's good to fight for your Second Amendment rights, especially in the state of New Jersey. It was pretty welcome. The first time, I just spoke to people and got them interested, and after about a half an hour, we went in and shot for an hour and a half. This time, I actually became an NRA recruiter. I'm also an NRA certified firearms instructor in pistol, rifle, and shotgun. But I became a recruiter just so I could recruit people into the NRA and get them started. So that was my second one. I have another one coming up in June. So that's what I did this week in guns.
That is awesome. That's like the best thing I've heard when I asked that question. So thank you for doing all that. That's actually really cool. Was there a good diversity in guns at the range as well?
Oh, it was awesome. They have almost 200 guns you can rent there, which was really cool. Everything from a 50 cal gold-plated Desert Eagle to AKs to VORs, things like that. But then the guys that showed up brought their guns. One guy had a SIG 516, I think that's what it's called, or 556. I forget what exactly it's called. The piston AR from SIG. He had that. Another one had the Kel-Tec, what do you call that thing? Sub 2000 in 9mm. He had a Glock 19 with like laser lights. We had three people who never shot guns before. So we had shotguns, we had all kinds of stuff. So the shooters actually shared their firearms with new shooters. So these guys showed up at the range, never having touched a gun before. All of a sudden, they're shooting Mossberg 500 shotguns, Glock 17s, Glock 19s, Beretta 92s, 22s, Henrys. We had all kinds of stuff out there. So it was great for the new shooter to introduce them to the sport.
That sounds so cool. That's super cool that you're doing that and introducing new people to it.
Well, what it was I was I'm a member of I was a member when I first started of a couple of different groups. ANJRPC, which is the Association of New Jersey Rifle and Pistol Clubs. That's the NRA chapter for New Jersey. NJ2AS, which is New Jersey Second Amendment Society. I'm a member of that. I got caught up in all of that, and I realized when I went to Trenton to testify in front of the assembly last year when they were trying to pass a 10-round magazine limitation instead of the 15, I was the only African-American pro-gunner in the room, and we had like 200 people there. And I'm like, I see people that look like me at the range. I see Hispanics at the range. I see Asians at the range. Why are none of them in this room? So I spoke to the heads of those organizations, and pretty much they couldn't help me. I mean, they were wondering how to recruit minorities into organizations themselves. So after a year and nothing happening, I was talking to a friend of mine, and he was like, "Hey, it's Black History Month. Call Anthony up at Gun for Hire and see if you can have a shoot." That was in like the first week of February, so we had it at the last week of February. We didn't get a lot of people, but we did get people to come out. And I got, who was that? Practically Tactical. I clicked on him. I spoke to him online, and he said he'd announce it for me. I hooked up with the Polite Society podcast. He announced it a couple of times for me. So I'm just trying to spread the word. If you want to come shoot with us. If you've never joined the Second Amendment group at all, I can help guide you through it. I can get you to join the NRA. And I can actually, one-on-one with myself and my friend Sean from Black Bag Resources, can explain to you why you'd actually want to be part of an organization to help change these crazy Jersey laws that are only going to get worse. The new guys we have, because Governor Christie, he's going to waddle out of the State House in the next 2 years, regardless. I hope he doesn't become president. But he's leaving. And the next move is going to be a Democrat's going to take over. And the anti-gun politicians have already said the minute Christie, a Democrat, gets in the governor's chair, they're going to push all these laws through. So we have to get people to join now to stop that from happening in the next year and a half. So that's why I feel I'm under a gun pressure as somebody who just doesn't want to move to Pennsylvania if I don't have to.
Yeah, the shoots definitely, I imagine that's a great way to help people get in, like you said, get some new diverse people in. And I know your weekend guns is going to make mine look pretty lame because I didn't do a whole lot other than carry, and I bought a new flashlight for carry, so that's about it for me.
Yeah, and it pretty much makes mine look pretty lame too, since all I did was I went to the range, had to re-sight in one of my ARs that I put a compensator on. It was shooting a little low with the compensator. And then I shot some handgun while I was there, and that's pretty much about all I did. So, you know, he pretty much wiped both TJ and I out. I don't know what Ryan did yet.
Certainly nothing that impressive, but I did go to the range, and I've been working up some reloads with my Remington 700 300 Win Mag. I'm really fond of the 200 grain Nosler AccuBonds, so I've been trying to work up loads to see how fast I can push them comfortably and accurately. So I managed to get my best groups ever, which is about, I think they're about like 5/8 of an inch group at 100 yards, going past 3,000 feet per second. So I'm pretty satisfied with that. Those are going to be my hunting rounds, so that's pretty much all I did was just prayed to the chronograph gods that both I got readings and I didn't shoot the chronograph. That's something that you have to do each time, is hope nothing bad happens, but that's all I did. Nothing crazy.
This is the internet, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I've shot 5/8 inch groups with my Mosin Nagant with military ammo. I can lie, right? Just like they do on the okay. It's not the same keyboard effect, but yeah.
Yeah.
That's great group, man. Wow.
I totally shoot Tic Tacs with my SKS all the time.
Do like the old Tom Knapp and throw an aspirin in the air and shoot it out of midair, huh?
That's right.
Well, actually, I took my high point pistol to long-range shooting competitions, 1,000 yards.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. You should give Jerry Mitchell a call. I'm sure he'd be interested in talking to you.
Well, actually, I was training. Brian Williams is my my assistant coach, and we trained Jerry Micklick together.
Oh man, not even 10 minutes, and I like you already. So, just the announcements real quick. Guests are always welcome, just like Tony here. You can join the show and have all sorts of fun with us. So if you're interested, email podcast@firearmsradio.tv or myself, cross@firearmsradio.tv, or you can go find TJ somewhere in Canada and tell him you want to be on the show. Track him down. So the product giveaway we're still having, actually next week will be the cutoff date for that. So giving away these pretty cool Gunstruction promo kits. You get some sweet patches, a pretty dope dust cover for your AR-15, and you get a promo code to download the Gunstruction app on your iPhone for free. So all you got to do is leave us an iTunes review, like really quickly, like within the next week, and then you'll be entered to win. So that's it for the announcements. Let's get right into the product spotlight. And first up, we actually are going for the most expensive product of the week. This is the F&H M249S semi-auto civilian legal saw, right, guys? I mean,
Yep.
What's not cool about this?
Well, it's not technically a saw, Ryan, because that's not a squad automatic weapon. I'm going to be Mr. Proper over here and call you out.
No, I played Call of Duty, sir, and that is the saw. I guarantee you.
Yeah. This was something that came out just before the NRA show, I think, maybe just a few days before, and a lot of people were pretty excited about it. It seems basically dimensionally, functionality pretty similar to the 249 saw, but it's a closed bolt, I believe, to keep it, civilian legal, because I think even if it's a semi-auto, it still has to be closed bolt. Or maybe for import, I think that's an import law or something. I'm not entirely sure how that works, but it has to be closed bolt. So they did a ton of engineering changes to make it aesthetically the same, but function pretty differently to make it not like, oh, well, it's a semi-auto version, but all you got to do is knock a pin off, and now it's full auto. They went through extensive modifications to make sure that you could not do that.
Yeah, I'm sure they had to send it to the ATF a million times, probably.
Yeah, imagine. Chad, you were pretty excited about this, weren't you?
I am. One, just because it is a 249, and to me, they're pretty cool. And yeah, granted, having a full auto one would be like 1,000 times cooler, but this is still something that, hey, if something happens, I'll take a 200 round belt over a 30 round mag any day. So I'm pretty excited about it. I am not excited about the price, which means I will probably never get one.
He'll just stick to drooling over the internet, huh?
Exactly. But, for certain things, it would be really cool. I can see certain, like, military collectors maybe wanting, it's one they can actually get easily as opposed to a full auto one, which may or may not be legal in their state. So something like that, they have a good deal going, but it's just one of those things. It's just so cool that even at $7,000, I think they got a hit on their hands with this one. I couldn't really find any real specs that were anything spectacular. I mean, this article Ryan posted, it's a 20.5-inch barrel, which is pretty much standard. It's 5.56 NATO. It looks like it says it has between a 4.5 and 6.5 pound trigger pull, which I guess isn't probably so bad considering what it actually is. And it's not like I've ever put a trigger pull gauge on a real full auto one to know, but that'd be kind of interesting. So there's that, which is kind of cool. I couldn't find a weight on it, and I'm sure probably because it's so new. And I'm guessing that's the only problem with it, being that it's going to be heavy because there's lots of metal in that thing.
Yeah, I think the military issue 249s are something like 18 pounds, if I remember correctly, and so it's not a light gun. That was kind of my gripe, not necessarily gripe, but just kind of what made me not necessarily too interested in it is the fact that to me it's functionally a giant, heavy, expensive AR-15 that takes belts. So it's just like, not for me, but I can see where a lot of people would like them.
Have you hunted jackrabbits before?
No, I have not.
Okay, well, this might work quite well for jackrabbits.
I don't know what jackrabbits you're hunting in Oregon, but they got to be huge.
No, they just run like crazy.
Yeah, you just miss a lot.
So yeah.
That too.
That's what I thought you were getting
So-
at, Chad. With the belted ammo, you miss a lot, so you need more ammo on hand.
Well, that happens with me too. So yes, yes,
It's
I
kind of
need
nice that it
more.
runs
But
on both box magazines and the belt. Yeah, that's kind of nice. I mean, it's kind of funny how they hang out the side, kind of at an angle, but good to have that. So what chain does that take? Does that take 1919 chain or something proprietary to that? The belt.
I think it's its own belt. I think it's pretty much just a standard 5.56 lengths. But
Yeah, I think the
No.
1919s for 308s, Ryan. Not
Oh,
entirely.
sorry.
yeah,
I'm not well
or
versed.
6.
M26 linked belt is what I'm seeing. M27, I'm sorry. M27 linked belt is what I'm seeing here.
Yeah, I'm guessing
What that
it's for
means, I
that,
don't
and
know, but that's what Wikipedia says.
It's a belt for a belt-fed machine gun. That's all we need to know.
Cool. My other question would be, what's the thread pitch on there, and could you put a suppressor on there? That would be pretty awesome.
You know, I'm guessing it's probably the standard, because doesn't somebody make one that's made for it? I was
I'm
thinking
sure
one
they
of the
do.
suppressor companies actually has one designated for the 249.
So
Well,
you need
granted,
that,
it might.
and Slidefire will come out with a bumfire stock for it eventually, right?
That's actually what I was thinking whenever I looked at it. It's like, I might get one if I could get a slide fire for it. And you just mount it to something and bump that slide fire and it'd be like a mounted machine gun almost.
And it'd be a shiatsu massage at the same time.
Yeah. Here's
Yeah.
some interesting, just from Wikipedia, of course, you know how reliable that may or may not be, but it says the unit cost of the actual 249 light machine gun is $4,087. So this thing is rumored to be almost twice as much as the military pays for the full auto versions.
That doesn't really surprise me.
It's usually the other way around with the military though, right? With the $400 open end wrenches and hammers like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, that's actually what I did in the military. I was in on the supply chain. Yeah, they're $400 hammers. There's multi-$100 wrenches. They're like washers that cost like $75.
Yeah.
Because that's what my job was when I was in the military. It was supply, reordering. I ran all those reports. I wrote those reports. And I'm looking going, okay, I have to go over to the warehouse because I want to see what a $75 washer looks like.
It looks like a 75% washer, I'd imagine.
No, it looks like a 10-cent washer.
Yeah.
So we got the link in the show notes for the truthaboutguns.com that broke that release from actually came from the NRA show. Was when they released that publicly.
Yep, and I don't know if we mentioned that, but
Well-
the 7,000 MSRP is just kind of what we've all heard, so it's not officially announced as that, but I think we've heard it enough times to where it might be true.
Yeah.
Well, it's on their page, right?
I don't know, is that where they got it? Is
And
that
I
where
mean-
you guys heard it from?
That's what
No.
I'm at. I mean, I'm just
Oh.
on their page and I see it.
Okay. I guess you did a little more research.
I find
than
it funny. It's
us.
I find it 17 pounds is almost the exact weight as some of the AR-15 some of the guys used to build back in the day with full Picatinny rails. Picatinny rail, bipod, bull barrels, 3 to 9 powered 50 millimeter scope, for close combat. I just used to watch these guys going, this thing started off as a 6.5 pound, 20-inch barreled rifle, right? I mean, what are you trying to turn it into? It still shoots 223.
Right.
Yeah.
I never understood it, but I figured, I'm old and I just don't get it. So my whole thing was to try to build a light AR. But yeah, this is pretty much right in the, right in that wheelhouse of really heavy ass AR.
So next up, we got something that is actually geared for the civilian market that we could actually afford. Whether or not we trust it and we want it is a different story. But it's the Remington RM380, which was just released. It's basically, a 380 Remington. Kind of looks like a Kel-Tec. Some of their pocket pistol 380s. TJ, did you get a chance to look at this when you were down in Nashville?
Yeah, I actually did, and I was kind of blown away, with Remington's recent debacle with the R51. I was incredibly surprised by this RM380 because it felt nice. It had a good, smooth action. The trigger was pretty good. The sights are higher than most 380s in the size. It had an actual slide stop. I don't remember exactly offhand, but I think the um, mag release might be ambi, or at least reversible. And then it's got like grip panels, so it's got a little bit more heft to the grip without being too thick. And it's got a double strike capability, which most of the 380s on the market don't have. If it goes, if you hit a dead round for whatever reason, the primer doesn't set off, you can just pull the trigger again and hope it goes off the second time. So that's pretty cool. It's like a true double action instead of that double action, but once you pull the trigger, it's dead, that a lot of the other ones have right now. The only thing, like Ryan, you mentioned, it kind of looks like that same form factor as like the Kel-Tecs and stuff. What I believe it to be is earlier this year, Remington had purchased Rohrbaugh, I think is how you pronounce it. They are a handgun maker that's been around for a while, and they're very kind of small-time niche marketplace handguns. They made, from what I remember, the smallest 9mm you could possibly get, maybe still even, just a tiny little 6-round 9mm, and they also made a 380. And it looks like Remington, after buying them, made a couple changes, because that Rohrbaugh had the heel release, like that European-style heel magazine release, so they moved it to more American style behind the trigger guard like we're used to seeing, and I'm sure they updated some other things, and they would have had to, because this new Remington is MSRP at what, $417, I believe. And then I did a little bit of research before the show. The Rohrbaugh was claiming the MSRP at about $1,200.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of wondering how they were able to cut the price by a third, or by 2/3. It's 2/3 less than the pistol was based off of, or seemingly based off of. So I'm wondering, with the recent R51 situation and the fact that it's a third the cost of the previous, I guess, iteration of this, leads me to think might not be. Obviously, this is just speculation, but it just kind of doesn't seem like it's going to be very good,
Well,
But we never know.
if the
Remington might hit it
R51
apart.
Well, if the R51 is any indication, Remington probably saved a lot of money, with, testing and evaluation and ammo. I mean, they just built it and send it out to market. Don't even bother testing it.
Right. And from what I understand, the Rohrbaughs didn't have that good of a reputation anyways for reliability, so I guess we'll see. But it had really nice features, and it felt good, but that's without shooting it and without actually trying to run it and carry it and all that stuff. So, time will tell. We'll see. It's priced right. People are going to buy it because it's probably going to come in at $350, so pretty competitively to, the LCP, the Smith & Wesson, all those other smaller 380s. It's going to come in right around the same price. So people are going to buy it, and hopefully it runs well. That's all I can hope.
Yeah, I'm hoping time will tell, but I'm hoping it runs well and they did a decent job, better than their last efforts.
Right, and another problem I've heard and agree with is the fact that Remington is having these huge failures with these R51s, so rather than fix them, they're coming out with a new pistol. Like, that doesn't seem to make sense to me. They're just ignoring one issue and bringing something new out. It seems like they should try to fix the other problem before they bring something else new. It's kind of putting a sour taste in a lot of people's mouths. It's just the fact that they're doing that,
But we don't know how long they were actually working on it either, so.
Yeah, there's no telling.
And truly with the R51, no matter what they do, if it's the greatest gun, if it comes out with a better higher round counts than Glocks, if they're tougher than Glocks, their name is ruined. So just walk away from it. I mean, you know, you don't
Yeah,
want one no matter what.
it's already the name's already smeared, so it's just kind of a bad mark. Is basically what you're saying.
Right.
That's what I feel. I mean, at this point, does anybody really want one, or do you just want to see how they might not have screwed this one up?
Yeah, I'm really interested. Hopefully this thing runs well because it's very promising spec-wise.
Yeah, and
I
you
don't
forgot.
say.
Oh, I was going to say, it also says in this article that another nice feature about it is it locks the slide back on an empty magazine, which not all the little 380s do, which
Right.
would be nice. And if it functions good, great.
Yeah, the last round slide lock, you don't have
Yeah,
that on the LCP or the Keltec. There's some others. The car has it, but I think maybe the Smith & Wesson has it, but probably at least half of the more commonly known 380s don't have that slide lock. So like I said, it's
Right.
full of features. Hopefully it runs and proves us wrong. I would love to be proved wrong by this gun.
I wish people who made these little 380s or little pocket pistols would. It seems like a lot of them make this straight all the way at the base, the straight back strap, you know, and it always seems like there's wasted space at the bottom. It's like just round it a little so that, you know, your shirt just kind of slides over it better. I just don't get it, but
Yeah, a
just
little
me.
sharp corner at the heel is kind of what you're saying.
Yeah, and they're not the only ones that do it. It's just I just don't understand it because I guess, and plus if your hand grabs it, I don't know, everybody's hand's different, but it seems to be meatier at the bottom where your hand would fit there anyway. Then so does it really make that much difference? I don't know. That's just a beef I have with a lot of small pistols.
I'm hopeful. I mean, if I saw this at the shop, I definitely want to get my hands on it and you know, feel for myself. You know, I felt the R51s and I wasn't pleased. But I mean, for America's oldest gun maker, I'm willing to just close my eyes and pretend that the R51 didn't happen. I'd like to think that if this had came out before that, you know, it would be a success, and so many people wouldn't be so like, you know, subjective right off the bat of like, oh, it's Remington, it's got a big old R on it, and I want nothing to do with it. You know, I think that it, you know, I'd like to see them build their reputation back up because, you know, I still have, you know, I have 3 Remington 700s. I mean, yeah, they've got their problems, but, you know, you're still supporting one of the strongest Second Amendment supporters and oldest gun makers of America, you know, instead of buying, you know, something that was made, you know, over in the, you know, Europe or anything like that. So, someone get one of these and let us know. Go ahead.
My problem with a lot of companies living off their reputation is you still have to put out a quality product, and I don't think this ends anything that Remington did. I mean, lots of companies put out pistols that didn't work. I mean, I don't know if you guys remember the Colt 2000, I think it was called, the All-American or something like that.
Yeah,
it's a horrible pistol.
Yeah, I remember those. Yeah, horrible pistol, kind of like the Colt Double Eagles or whatever they were.
Yeah, double action 1911 works out real well. Worked out well for Para Ordnance when they did it too.
Yeah.
Lots of companies have stuff that fails, but that doesn't, like, you know, ruin the company, and I don't think it should ruin Remington. I mean, their R1, right? That's what their 1911 was called.
Yep.
A lot of people like those, and I mean, I started off with a 1911. That was the actual first pistol I bought as a civilian, and I like them, but after taking more and more classes, teaching classes and giving classes, I realized that I want something without a manual safety on it, just because of the delay, but that's neither here nor there. I mean, you know, it's just a training issue that I have, and that's what most of it is. But this is a 380. A lot of people like them. I live in Jersey, so there's no way for me to legally carry concealed for the most part in this state anyway. So that's why I don't even bother with some. And plus, as big as I am, I can conceal carry the rifle, which is coming up next. So I don't really worry.
Yeah. Actually, pretty interesting. When I was looking at this article on guns.com, I clicked on a little side link, and there's actually a Remington series guitars too from Boulder Creek Musical Instruments. So I was kind of looking for the comments for the trolls saying, do the strings just pop off when you look at it, or does it have the same Remington quality? I like Remington, man, and I want them to pull through, and the next couple years are going to be absolutely crucial for them to come out with some real solid guns that have been tested and proven, and not so much focus on the hype machine. We got to get the marketing up. We got to get everyone hyped up for it. Well, if you don't put that money into T&E and making sure that it runs good engineering-wise, then all that marketing dollars are going down the drain.
Yeah, like I said, hoping for the best with this.
Yeah, to be fair, a lot of the reports that we got back on the R51 were prior to the SHOT Show. So these guys had pre-production models of the R51. And yeah, they worked great because pretty much they were hand-built or at least put together in the factory to make it work because they gave it to all the big magazines. But once they put out the production model, the production models didn't run. My problem with the whole thing was no one was really demanding Remington come out with a single stack 9mm, so take your time. Run some production models and see how they work. I didn't understand the rush to get to SHOT Show last year when they didn't even have a working model for Media Day.
Yeah.
I mean, that's ridiculous. When you don't have a working model for your industry's largest show, then roll all those banners back up and don't even take them out of the truck if you don't have a working gun.
Yeah. Well, this last year, I heard that they had a kind of a private media day at the range, not like the main media day from SHOT Show, but they had their own little range day where they hired, gave out invitations to their own chosen media representatives to.
Yeah, it was kind of off-site, a couple miles away in the desert, and had their own little deal, kind of like they did previous year.
Sign a release saying that you're not going to bash it if it has any failures or flaws, but. Anyway, let's get on to the next product from a company that's making big waves in these last couple of years, and definitely in the future. SIG has a sweet rifle that is, kind of taking the whole modularity thing and really capitalizing on it. So it's the MXC, or I'm sorry, I mixed that up. The SIG MCX. This is an interesting looking rifle, that's for sure, and you can have it in a couple different flavors. It's very compatible and modular with all their little accessories. So, did you get to see this at the NRA show?
Yeah, actually, got a chance to look at this too. Me and Anthony from the AR-15 podcast. He was going over there to check out their AR style products, and this was one of them. And it's basically a piston-driven AR type rifle, but obviously it's a SIG. They do tons of things different. They're ARs, but they're kind of not ARs and stuff. If that makes sense. One of their big features, the first thing the SIG rep showed us, is that there's a pin, I believe it is, or there's some kind of release mechanism where you take that off and you can just slide the handguard off. Just one little flip of a lever and you just slide the handguard off. Real easy. And then under that, there are these two torque screws where you take those off and you can pull the barrel off. So it's not like an AR where you have to take the barrel nut and properly torque it and all that kind of stuff. It's not as involved. So it's not quite a quick change barrel like you think. You flip the lever and pull the barrel off, but it's a heck of a lot quicker than AR style rifles, because you can go back and forth between a 223 and 300 Blackout, for example. You can go back and forth between those two within minutes, I'm sure. And obviously it's a piston-driven AR, so you don't have to have that buffer tube. So you can have folding stocks and completely collapsing stocks and all that stuff. So it's definitely a feature-packed rifle.
So not only is it in the 5.56 and 300 Blackout, like TJ mentioned, but they're also going to be releasing it in 7.62 by 39. So that's definitely nice, is that you can have one rifle with multiple calibers, or just two if you're impartial to okay, I want to go to the range with 223, and I want to, shoot hogs, or if you're in the operating field, if you want to switch to 7.62 by 39, if you're operating in an arena that's got lots of that ammo floating around, you can do that as well.
Yeah, but you better be operating in an arena that you have magazines for those rifles laying around, because I don't think it's an AK mag.
No, it's the 7.62 AR magazines, like the real curved AR magazines that we've heard kind of
I
on and
was
off
looking
things
at
about reliability.
The ones that double as a boomerang?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I like the idea of it, and it's great. I hadn't shot SIG ARs except the last 2 weeks. I fired 2 of them. Pretty good. I like the way it felt. I'm really impressed by them. I have no idea what happens when you use a 7.62 by 39 with that magazine, because as most of you guys know, when it comes to semi-autos, the magazine is the weak point on most malfunctions anyway. Now you get an iffy magazine, excuse me. That'll just run your whole day. Trust me, I know. I've gotten a hold of some.
Yeah, and I've heard mixed results with these. The AK mags curve from the base all the way to the to the part where it hooks in, but the AR magazines, it's got that 3-inch or so mag well that it's got to be straight in. So I've just heard some kind of jamming in those areas. So I mean, I don't imagine. Maybe SIG has done something to circumvent that, but really telling. So one thing, kind of a cool feature, not really. It doesn't look like they necessarily mention it, but it looks like and maybe they do mention it and I'm just not seeing it, but their buttstock attachment seems to be a Picatinny rail, like a vertical Picatinny rail on the rear end of the receiver. So you can attach one of their folding buttstocks, their collapsible buttstocks, or their SB15 pistol brace, or SBX I think is what they're putting on it, the modified SB15. And if you do have the pistol type platform, I would imagine you can just throw on like a little, kind of like Magpul has their little Picatinny QD mount. All you do is just put that on the Picatinny and then you have a QD mount. So it's pretty neat.
Yeah, from the pictures I was looking at on the SIG site, it's the same thing. But yeah, it looks like it's got a little Picatinny rail there for all the different stocks that they offer, at least. So that's kind of cool. I'm guessing that they probably have an adapter that makes it so you can mount it to a inert tube and use whatever stock you want also.
Are these all folding stocks, or are they fixed stocks?
It looks like one of them
folding or fixed stocks.
Looks like a couple of them are folding. One of them's like that kind of wire style collapsible.
Right.
And then they have one that's folding, but it's also one of their SIG pistol braces. So you have a ton of options.
Well, see, that's needed because really, and I know most people are tired of hearing it, but there are a lot of states like Jersey when it comes to evil features we can't have. We can't pretty much have an AR-15 pistol because we're limited on the actual weight of the firearm itself. I think it's like 30 ounces or something like. It's something ridiculous. It's not 30 ounces; it's heavier than that. But it's pretty much your lightest AR-15 pistol, not legal in this state. So
yeah, that's interesting. I imagine, like one of you guys mentioned, maybe they'll have like just a standard AR type tube to where you can mount that on there rather than having to, put a collapsing stock. Or, there's tons of people, I'm sure you're aware, being in Jersey, they probably have plenty of people that'll pin and weld folding stocks, either open or closed, to make it.
Yeah, nothing's more convenient than a pinned folding stock.
Yeah, the redundant oxymoron, I guess.
Yeah, it's like taking your hot cousin to the prom with you. Yeah, great. You're got pictures with a hot girl, but well, it's your cousin. Yeah, I got a folding stock rifle, but I can't fold it. Yeah, great. I hate living here. I really do.
So the The piston system seems to be really what's the core of why this would be a really good platform for you to pick up. I mean, it's got bleeds that extra gas off. Especially if you're like suppressing it. The operating rods and the gas block share a similar length with carbine length gas systems on ARs, but so it's really the best engineering that's come out with the AR-15, taking it past what Stoner has done and kind of really bringing it up to a better operating level. And I really hate changing barrels. Let me just say that right off the bat. I hate D-rings. I hate barrel nuts. I've done that in the past where like, oh yeah, I've got this extra barrel and I'll just, swap the bolt and swap the barrel and it'll be a 5-minute job. It's never a 5-minute job, and don't kid yourself. You end up selling the extra parts because it's just too much of a hassle. So it's really nice to see rifles take on this new evolution, this new level of modularity to really make it a snap if you want to change up calibers. Especially if you're drinking the 300 Blackout Kool-Aid.
Thank you. God, that's so annoying with the 300 Blackout now, but whatever. I love people when they complain about the AR-15. They go, "Oh, it's not developed. It's kind of an old design." I'm like, Eugene Stoner designed that in the late 50s. By the early 60s, it was sold to Colt. He had nothing else to do with it. He walked away from it. So, yeah, he stopped developing that rifle decades ago. And the Army got what they wanted. So the only development that came from it was pretty much military requirements. It's only in the last, 15, 20 years that civilians have really had input into what they want on the AR-15. And it's turning out they kind of want a lot more modularity in a piston system. They're changing it from what an AR-15 is, but, I mean, it's only recently, it's a mature design as a DI gun. But all of this pistons, everyone has a different piston. None of that is standardized yet. So this is really all new. Really. This is a new design. It just uses an AR-15 kind of stencil. Some parts go with it, but this is not an AR-15.
Yeah, their website's really cool. sigevolution.com/sigmcx. As you scroll down, it actually shows, the receiver and then the sights and the barrel and handguard kind of sliding into place in kind of an animation as you're scrolling down on the website. So it's kind of interesting. They show you the carbine, and then they have the pistol configuration and the SBR configuration as well. They all share the key mod handguard, which is like the new hotness that I guess it's not really new anymore, but back in the, your kids are going to be all about the key mod. And I remember back in the day when we had cheese grater Picatinny running down our handguards, and dang it, we liked it. But,
yeah, no. Sorry, but I was in the Marine Corps in 1988. We had duct tape on the regular handguards to hold your flashlight on.
I'm glad you're here to definitely clarify for me, because I'm sure you've gone through much worse.
They took those flashlights to Panama too.
Yeah. By the way, they were like 6-cell. The big mag lights with duct tape on them, and pretty much room clearing was really fun with a 20-inch barrel and an 8-pound flashlight. I love being old.
So as far as price points go, we're looking at an MSRP of $1,866 for the carbine configuration. So that's going to change a little bit with the different SBR or the pistol with the SBX brace on there. But that's generally where you're going to be looking for price-wise if you really got to have one.
May or may not be an interesting note, but whenever I was at the NRA show, I actually I think it was the MCX's, what do they call it, the SBX, the new version of their pistol brace. Yeah. I strapped one of those things on, and man, was it awkward. I could not I couldn't even straighten my arm to even see the sights, much less I imagine using them would be a nightmare. But I think that was more the fact that it has that folding mechanism, so it put it closer to my actual, like the crease of my arm rather than my wrist. You know, it's probably 6 inches further back on my arm than it should be to be considered a state wrist brace. You know, so I don't know. It was awkward. I don't know your exact mileage with it, Ryan, but if you had similar results.
I haven't tried the new ones yet, but I do know exactly what you're talking about because, you know, back before the ATF had made that decision and everybody was going and getting the Knight's Armament, the CAC tubes, because they were extended and they had that little shelf. So everyone was getting or building pistols to use the brace so you can shoulder it and skirt the NFA law. So you would get that CAC tube because it would, you know, kind of lengthen your pull by about like 1.5 inches, 2 inches. But if you actually tried to use that as a brace, yeah, I mean, it'd be all the way up into your, closer to your elbow joint, you know, up your forearm, and like there's no ergonomic way to get a sight picture that way. I mean, even it's even hard to just a red dot on there, let alone, you know, a rear and front sight that you're trying to line up somehow, holding it in front of your face. So
Yeah,
I think
I just felt like I couldn't hold it straight up like a pistol like you're supposed to, you know. I would have had to keep it cocked to the side and put a red dot on a 45, you know, and kind of it just stayed like this angle. I couldn't straighten my forearm. It was awkward, man.
yeah, you got to tilt them inwards, kind of,
Yeah.
you know, not, I want to say gangster style, but it seems like if I'm trying to pretend if I was disabled, you know, if I didn't have my left arm, how would I fire that? And it definitely makes it a little bit more difficult if I'm not holding it out like directly to my side instead of right out in front of me.
Now that you mentioned NFA, I wonder if SIG is actually going to sell the SBR to civilians or if they're just going to deem that law enforcement.
I think SIG's being pretty good about selling to regulated items. You know, obviously, if you go through the proper channels, they'll
Right.
sell it to you. You know, so imagine they'll come out for. And then even after that, what's stopping you from buying the rifle and then SBRing it and then throw in the 10-inch barrel on it or whatever the spec happens to be?
Right.
You know, they can't keep you from buying that because you could have bought a pistol and just want a different caliber.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, compliance is
Obviously.
on you.
Yeah, obviously, if you're going to do that, you have to go through the proper channels, but SIG can't necessarily stop you from buying an accessory
Right.
to do that anyway.
I was
so.
just curious because finding factory-built SBRs is sometimes seems to be hard because I guess everybody makes them, so they're like everybody's like, well, just make one.
Yeah, but it could be the case, but they're touting this thing pretty big, the pistol version, so I imagine they're going to push the SBR version. Obviously, they won't sell near amount because people, it doesn't seem like a lot of people are going SBR, but it seems like more people are just like, well, might as well just get a full-length rifle or have a pistol, you know. This is kind of
Right.
either or rather than spending that $200 extra and waiting an extra year kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We'll head on over to SIG's website if you want to give that a look. It's also been featured in the Guns and Ammo March 2015 issue. Just a heads up there. So the next thing up I got on the show today, something I've been wanting to bring on the show for a couple weeks now. Just, you know, so many products, and with the NRA show, it kind of got bumped a little bit. But I guarantee you this is going to have a lot of guys' ears perk up. This is a portable reloading bench from the Cameron. I believe that's how they pronounce their company name there. So what this is basically is a portable bench that's been designed so that you can take your RCBS, your Dillon, your Lee, your Mac, your Hornady, whatever press fanboy you are, or whatever you have, be able to affix it to this little bench that you could, you know, take and set on your workbench, and then or set on your kitchen counter for that even. For that matter, and then when your wife gets tired of you know, you working on that thing, you can take it and put it in your garage, or if you're moving or mobile, you'll be able to reload on the go. But the most important thing about this is you can actually take this to the range and do your reloading at the bench, which is something I'd be more interested in, because if you work up 5 loads, shoot them, and then you got your data and you want to work up or change them, you've got your press right there. You don't have to drive home, redo them. The wife catches you, you got to do chores, and then you don't get to go to the range till like the next week. You can be at the range all day with this baby. So a couple different colors. There's a black edition. That's $149. They've got a camo one. That's an extra $50. Same. It's a kind of like a, what's that, like a woodland or
Like a real tree, I guess, kind of.
Yeah.
I guess the real tree has the leaves. It's just kind of more sticks and stuff.
Yeah, and they got a pink camo one, which is interesting. And then they have just a Baltic birch. It kind of looks like unfinished. It might have a little bit of finish on there. But it's kind of two-tiered. So you'll be able to put material trays on the side. If you want to run like a powder thrower on one side, there's a slot for that. It just kind of depends on how many. You might not be able to fit your case trimmer and your RCBS Charge Master on there, but this would at least give you a kit that you could put in your back of your truck or your SUV, take to the range, do some loading at the range, and take it back with you without any disassembly involved.
Yeah, I think another good, I guess, use for this, rather than being necessarily portable, the fact that you can put it away, like you mentioned earlier, for maybe like people in a small home or an apartment, or especially an apartment, because you wouldn't want to make any kind of permanent modifications to where, if you pull this thing out, clamp it to your countertop, and just go to work, and then when you're done, you put it up in a closet so it's not taking up a spot in your kitchen or something like that. You could easily just pull this out when you need it, work on it, throw it away, or not throw it away, but pack it away when you're done, and be amazing for small homes and people that just don't have a lot of work area. Actually, I think this might be something I would get. I might try one of these out whenever I get into reloading, because then I wouldn't have to dedicate a space in the garage. I could just pull it out, clamp it to the bench, put it back up when I'm done, rather than having to dedicate something where I might use it for other kind of woodworking stuff. Well, I've got a press in the way. Well, with this, you wouldn't have to worry about that.
Yep.
Yeah, you could, and then you could take it and mount it on your kitchen counter, and have the wife yell at you.
Have all your food taste like gunpowder for a few days, and
well, gunpowder smells good, so. But like Ryan said, I think because I have a bench that's kind of dedicated, I guess, for me it would be more something that I would take to the range to work up a load. Or like Ryan said, you're fine-tuning some loads you have, and you can just do it right there. It's done. You have all the data, and it's pretty nice in that respect. So, but I liked what TJ was saying about small, if you live in an apartment or something, you could have everything mounted to it and just set it up on a shelf when you're done.
So the dimensions of it, it's 19 inches wide by 11 and 3/4 inches deep by 10 inches tall. So kind of a smallish footprint. So I'm definitely thinking about getting one of these too, just because I'm going to be moving and I'm going to have limited space. I'm reloading everything I can before it goes into somewhat storage, but this would be a very cool thing to have. In the black, it's going to look good on no matter what color press you got. But I'm just curious as to all my other essentials, power, like the Charge Master and my scales and all that. Is there storage on the inside? There seems to be a box kind of in the center of it that I'm curious if that's got storage space in it or not. I can only see the front view of it so far.
Yeah, we're not seeing the rear view, but I would imagine they'd be kind of silly not to have that hollow box, have like a door in the back, kind of.
Yeah.
Right. And I don't know if you mentioned it, but the plate has all kinds of pre-drilled holes for all the different presses, which is nice. So even if you had more than one press, you could switch them. It says it has trays for components, but it doesn't say anything about, having that extra inside space to hold anything. But I would guess why not?
Reading the reviews, I'm seeing people referring to that space on the inside as somewhere you would put weight to make it a little bit more sturdy and it not sliding around, or when you're cranking down on the ram on your press to make sure that there's adequate leverage and that's not wobbling around. So I guess there is some kind of compartment in there where you might be able to put, a bag of lead shot or something in there.
Yeah, you could throw your store your unloaded bullets in there and just weigh it down that way, or like you said, lead shot, just whatever. Or I guess rather than having to clamp it down to something, especially if you're like I said, living in an apartment, you don't want to worry about dinging up the countertops with a clamp. You just weigh it down.
Yep.
I don't know how stable that would be though, because it seems like unless you got 50 pounds in there, it seems like you're putting a good bit of pressure on that handle. So it seems like it would still rock a lot if you don't have it clamped some way.
Yeah. Yeah, I use C-clamps on my press anyway because I am renting and I didn't want to damage existing furniture, even though it's an old, really old table. So I just made a platform out of wood and then C-clamped it to the surface. So you could do that with this too, but it just depends on how portable you want it to be. Maybe if you put a bunch of projectiles in there, like TJ said, it would be enough. It weighs 19 pounds by itself, so that's something to note. And that it's also you can just assemble it with screws and dowels. Let's see, anodized aluminum, universal mounting plate, stainless steel press mounting T-bolts, washers, and wing nuts. So it looks like it comes with adequate hardware to be able to get set up pretty quickly. You don't have to get this thing and then run out to the hardware store.
Yeah, that's good. And they kind of give you everything you need to get started. As long as you have the press already, you just mount it to it. And it is pretty cool. I don't think you mentioned the price. It's sold out right now, probably because it is the cheapest. But they have their kind of base model Baltic birch. It's completely unfinished, so you could stain it or paint it, whatever you want. But it's only $100 versus the painted, and the painted's $150 and the camos are $200. So that's pretty good. You can get it unfinished, assuming it's in stock when you go to order. Get it unfinished, and for $100, that's pretty. That seems like a very reasonable price for what you're getting.
Yeah, definitely be interested in getting some for T&E, because I'm sure there's a lot of guys out there that reload that would not mind having this available. So between me and you, TJ, one of us has to get one of these.
I'd rather have one of those 249s for T&E, but hey.
Oh, we're making wish lists now. Hold on a second.
So the website, if you want to take a look at that, it's difficult to say over the airwaves, but so they spell Cameron with a 4 and a 3. I don't know what. Don't ask me. So it's www.thecameron.com, except it's C4M3RON.com. I have no idea why they just do that. So you might be better off going over to the show notes and clicking on the link to get there.
Yeah. I imagine that 43 probably holds some kind of significance to the creator. That's the only thing I could imagine. They have a story on their page, which I haven't read, so maybe that'll shed some light if anybody feels like go and read their backstory.
Yeah, the story is they missed out on their own domain name. That's what the story is.
So that's it for the products for this week's show. So we're going to go ahead and go into the main topic, the panel discussion of our Firearms Insider reviews. So I got one, and Tony's got one. Tony, do you want to go first, or do you want to go second? It's up to you, man.
Sure, I'll go first.
Cool.
My Firearms Insider review is High Point JCP. .40 caliber pistol. I happen to have one. I purchased it 3 years ago in awesome Incredible Hulk green because I'd not seen anyone with one. I purchased it as a range gun for the most part because I use heavier firearms for home defense. If I'm going to use something, I'm going to use a rifle or a shotgun. So a pistol to me is just something to play with at the range. When it came to what did I want to buy, my friend, he dropped over $500 on a Glock. And I said, I'm not spending $500 on something like that. If I spend $500, I want a rifle. So I bought an SKS. But when it came to pistols, I'd read a lot of negative reviews about the High Point. I've read a lot of negative comments about a High Point, but the reviews I saw on them were pretty good. So for people that actually use the High Point, they said they were from fair to the greatest pistol ever made, and they have no idea why anybody would buy anything else. I thought that was kind of nuts. But I decided to drop less than $200 and put my money where my mouth was and see how this thing worked. So far, I'm almost 3,000 rounds deep. I've taken it, truthfully, when I first got it, I was like, okay, I'm going to spend $175. I bought a couple of extra magazines, and I'll shoot it and see what happens. Well, it was hanging up a lot. The bullets would nosedive in the magazine. So I went on High Point forums, and I read that you have to peel the feed lips on a magazine outward and would help them feed, because once you got past the 6th round, that's when it would start nosediving. I just assumed they don't know what they're talking about, and I was going to fire 500 rounds through it. And I figured that would break in the springs and get everything working. Yeah, well, 500 rounds later, I really knew how to actually clear stoppages in the High Point. I was awesome at it. And then I bent out the feed lips and stopped wasting my time. And it fed ever since. It's pretty good. It's pretty accurate. On my review that I posted on the page, I put pretty much one of the longest, most boring videos on YouTube of me actually firing real time at 100 yards with the High Point. And that day it fired a 7-inch group pretty much. I can cover it up with my hand. And I was really impressed by that. And I did it more than once, so it wasn't a fluke. And when I was doing it, I wasn't even using factory ammo. I was using reloads from my FFL. So it's a pretty accurate pistol, but it's a heavy pistol, and there are a couple of dings on it. I put it in a review. One of the things is the Picatinny rail. It has a proprietary Picatinny rail that they have. It has a proprietary accessory rail, but they have an actual Picatinny attachment you can put it on that puts it somewhere down here. And then you can put a light on it that puts it somewhere down here. So I have no idea how you ever would use this thing. And the other thing is the magazine issue. How do you put out a firearm and it's known that your magazines kind of need to be adjusted by the customer? That's ridiculous. I think would have a lot better reputation if they would do something with their magazines. Those are the two negative things about a High Point that most people who read reviews or don't really pay attention or don't look further into it, it gets the reputation of being a horrible firearm based on that. The other thing people don't pay attention to is actually 380s, like 380s, 25s, and 22s, they all blowback operated. Well, these are blowback operated also, meaning the slide has to be heavy and the spring has to be heavy also to stop the thing from blowing apart in your face when you pull the trigger. That's one of the reasons this pistol empty weighs more than a fully loaded Glock 22 with a fun stick in it. With a loaded 31 round magazine, this weighs more than that. But what I found is most people at the range have no idea what a High Point is. They shoot it and they go, well, it's okay. It has fully adjustable for windage and elevation on the rear sight, a fixed front sight, regular safety up and down. It comes with a magazine disconnect, but I myself disconnected that. I actually took it out. It's a small piece. You just take the grip panel off and remove it. I took that off so I could dry fire at home with it. It also does not have a slide release. When the magazine is empty, like this, slide locks back. It's unique in some of its operations. It's also unique in how you break it down because you need a center punch, or actually a roll pin punch if you don't want to damage your piece, to actually knock this piece out, to disassemble it. And then pretty much you just lift up and forward just like you do on most blowback operated pistols that I know about. So let me see. And I think I gave it a 7 or a 7.5. This is the thing about a high point. It is not a Glock. It's not, I don't know why people keep saying that. You shouldn't even compare it. At a MSRP of $175, this is in no way a Glock. I really and truly feel this is the least amount of money you can spend on a new firearm and get something that's covered by a lifetime transferable warranty. You do what you have to do to make the magazines work, and they work fine. Again, I've used these in my NRA, NRA law enforcement class. I was able to throw the magazines on the concrete, slam a new mag in, and just go to work. So you don't have to baby it after you bend the lips out. I haven't had any malfunctions due to the magazines since I've modified the lips on the magazine. But another problem I have with people that purchase a high point is they don't want to spend the time and the money at the range shooting the high point. They just want to buy a gun and stick it in a drawer. Well, no matter what firearm you get, you're going to have to use it. You're going to have to shoot it. You're going to have to learn how to run it. And if you don't, you're wasting your time, whether you spend $175 on a high point or you know, $7,000 on, what's the name of that company, Colbert Arms? It makes no difference how much money you spend on these. You have to use them. You're using a tool. And if the tool doesn't work, the tool doesn't work. But you have to learn to run it. And I think that's a shortcut a lot of people think when they get a high point. I've got a gun, I'm cool. No, that's not the way it works. Hello? Did I bore everyone to death?
No, good review, man. You know, it's interesting. Everyone's, or at least most everyone, has heard the stereotype of high point being in the cheap, lowest common denominator, almost what the gangbangers prefer because they can afford it. But really, it's interesting to hear, you know, that it you know, someone that actually enjoys it and chooses to shoot it, not for kind of ironic value, but more for the fact that, you know, hey, it works well. It's, you know, and for the price point, it's hard to find something to work better that doesn't cost less or about the same.
Yeah, I mean, if you have more money, spend more money. If you don't, you're not doing yourself a disservice by purchasing this firearm. You just have to do what needs to be done to make it run, which includes shoot it to find out if it runs. Now, admittedly, I've only fired full metal jacket in this because it's a range gun. I wasn't about to go spend, you know, real money loading up hollow point ammo to see how this ran with it, because truly, to be fair, to see how hollow points run in it, you have to fire at least 200 rounds of that particular ammunition. I mean, if you're going to carry something. I mean, I don't know what you guys do, but that's pretty much where I would be with that, right?
Yeah, that's pretty standard. You know, run a couple hundred rounds of what you want to rely on just to make sure that it likes it, because, you know, a lot of guns won't like one particular round for whatever reason, so you just have to definitely test it. But, you know, I find it pretty interesting that this $200 gun, you know, or sub $200 gun, you tweak the magazines a little bit to get them to run right, when, like you said, people spend $1,200 on a gun and there's no minor modifications that you can make to get it to run right. It's just kind of an oxymoronic situation. They'll down a high point for, you know, some of the same reasons that they're claiming their expensive, you know, $1,200 firearm is good somehow. It makes sense.
Well, I was able to shoot, aluminum cased ammo, steel cased ammo, all of that through this, no problem, including the reloads that I got from pretty much anybody, including Freedom Munitions, which is in the actual photo that I used that day. This thing shoots. I had a run-in in the some of the stupidest gun stuff I ever heard is in a gun store by gun store employees. And I'm in Pennsylvania at a place where you can rent firearms. And I asked the guy, I rented a 1911. What is it? The range officer? Yeah, Springfield
Yeah.
range officer. I think it was a 9mm. The guy charged me $25 for a box of 9 range ammo, and I was like, that's really expensive. I was like, my 40 costs less than that. He says, well, what kind of 40 ammo you use? I said, Wolf. He looks at me with disgust and says, I would never use Wolf in any of my guns. I said, well, my gun costs $175. How much did you spend on yours that can't shoot Wolf? Yeah, he got upset at me.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a problem I found with some rental ranges. They only want you to use their ammo just to make sure you're not going to blow their gun up, so they up the price just because you have to buy it from them, which is a little disingenuous. So it's a little sad, but it's a good point.
Very cool. Well, what I was going to review today is another water bottle. So I got a couple of these from a guy that I met in SHOT Show this last year in Vegas from Hydro Pack. And when you are walking through a trade show and you go by the Hydro Pack booth, you're probably there's a high chance you're gonna see somebody in sales standing out in the middle of the walkway, standing on their water bottle, illustrating how strong the bonds are. So they used radio frequency welding on the materials, which make it a really bond at the molecular level, so you can stand on it and jump on it, and it's going to hold up to that and not burst the seams, literally. So I reviewed the what was that called? The stash, because it kind of collapsed on itself, and it was kind of good for camping. This is the SF 500. It's a soft flask, is what the SF stands for. 500 is obviously the milligrams or milliliters that it holds, 500 milliliters. So this is kind of more of their sports bottle, I would say. It's got a nice bite valve on there. It's got a lock on the valve if you want to be able to prevent any sort of leakage or accidental discharge of your fluids. Giggity. You can twist this lock, and it'll prevent that from coming out. It also has a tethered cap that goes over the bite valve, which is really nice. It's got ridges on the inside for kind of a nice friction fit, so it's not coming off there without me pulling on there. But it's kind of nice. You're not going to lose your cap if you're out there jogging. It's got kind of a round bottom with a kind of a loop on there if you wanted to run some kind of tether or wristband through there. So the nice thing about this is that, obviously it doesn't have a flat bottom for it to sit like the stash does. So if you're wanting to use this thing at the gym, it's pretty much going to lay on its side or hang from your lanyard or whatever. So this might not be something you want to necessarily use at the gym, but I would see this, because it's so soft. You can see that these walls, it's much like a bladder. I'll blow it up for you guys. There. So that's what it looks like when it's full. Very soft sides. You'll be able to fill this up with water and stick it into your jacket pocket, pants pocket. If you're wearing skinny jeans or kind of tight workout clothing, and if it's got a pocket on it, you could probably fit this bottle in there. And because of the shape, it's going to be pretty comfortable. It's not going to be like shoving an uncomfortable, loud, crinkly water bottle in your pocket. So it's kind of nice. So yeah, they sent me these bottles to review. So just keeping it kind of nice and quick. The Firearms Insider key points: claim to fame. The award-winning collapsible soft flask is an easy-to-use hydration flask and packs tightly for efficient storage and transport. One thing that this does not have that the soft flask does is a pleasing collapsed form. So when it's full, like a typical bottle, when I bleed the air out of this, it kind of crinkles up like this. Kind of looks like rubbish or trash. It doesn't really lock into itself into like any kind of form. You can kind of make an egg shape if you pushed it, but there's nothing to hold it in that shape. So, the nice thing is you can just crumple up like this and throw it into your bag, into your glove box, into your fanny pack, whatever you want. So that's kind of nice about that. The target market obviously is camping, travel, hiking, jogging, bug out preppers, or hunters. People that need hydration, especially right now. It's getting a little bit warmer. I had this thing full, and we're about an hour 15 into the show. I've already drank it empty. So it's really handy to have hydration. You need water to live. So this is kind of a nice, convenient way of carrying that with you if a regular bottle or hard plastic bottle is a little bit more inconvenient. So features and benefits: collapsible for easy use, storage, and transport. The molded top and bottom provide a three-dimensional shape with lashing options. Constructed with thermoplastic polyurethane for strength and flexibility. Like I said, it's radio frequency welded to create superior bonds at the molecular level. It won a design award for the ISPO. It's 42 millimeter wide screw cap for easy filling and cleaning. So you can just twist the cap and it comes right off. So nice wide mouth for filling. The tether still stays, or the cap still stays tethered to this kind of collar that goes around the mouth there. Let's see, it's got the valve is twist on and off for an on-demand use and a secure no-leak option. High flow rate from the soft silicone bite valve. Dust cover, finger loop attachment, screw cap, nylon carry loop. It weighs about 2 ounces. Like I said, it's got the volume of 500 milliliters. The material is BPA and PVC free, and it meets or exceeds FDA and EU regulations. So if you're kind of health conscious, you don't like water bottles made out of plastic because of all that BPA chemicals and PVC and all that stuff, this has none of that. It's also dishwasher safe, and I believe, just like the Stash, it's antimicrobial, so that's kind of nice too. So it's got a no-leak product lifetime warranty. If you have a leaky one if ever, just send it back and they'll take care of you for that. So other colors, this is their smoke gray. They've got an orange, and then they've got one that's kind of a white-blue. It's got white and blue on it. What others are saying, Packwire says that their soft flasks are definitely innovative, to say the least. We tested these extensively, and the general consensus around here seems to be that they're awesome. And then irunfar.com says, as you drink the soft flask, it collapses on itself like all bladders do. This eliminates all sloshing and allows you to stow the empty soft flask easily. In my opinion, a huge improvement over other handhelds. So the MSRP is $19.99. You can get it on Hydropack's website or Amazon.com. So I gave it an 8.5 as great. The pros, the retention of the dust cap cover via the tether is really nice. I wish the Stash had that option on there. The cap has ridges, and that's nice friction fit over there, so it's not going to get loose if you've got it in your bag and you're kind of tumbling around. The bite valve can be locked, so that's kind of nice. The nice wide opening. I really like how it can flex and form to your body. So if you're, a really skinny runner, male or female, no matter what your body type, you could fill this thing with water and drink it and have it with you throughout the day, and it's going to conform to your body whatever way you're holding it in your pockets, front or back or side or wherever. So it's kind of nice that it's kind of much more soft and ergonomic than other bottles. So the only cons I gave it is when it lays down on its side. If you're at the gym floors, it's kind of gross. So that's something to consider. You might want to just, if you're using this at the gym, put your towel down first and lay this on top of it. And then the fact that it doesn't conform to any kind of shape, it seems like in the design phase they could have made it somehow lash to itself so that it didn't just become like a crumpled mess when it was time to store it up. So anyway, that's my review on the water bottle. So apologies it wasn't a gun or didn't go bang, but it's getting warmer, and I definitely appreciated having it today.
Yeah, now, for some of you guys, like in my climate, when Ryan mentions warm, he told me today that it was 65 degrees there, I believe he said.
Yeah.
So that's warm for Ryan. Just throwing that out there. I had to call you out.
I am a warm-blooded individual. If I was ever like in Alaska or the tundra, I would be pleasantly satisfied.
But I did have a kind of an added feature that maybe some people might not think about. I've heard a lot of people talking about going through TSA and stuff like that in an airport. You can't bring water bottles through, TSA because it has to be under 3.5 ounces or something like that of liquid. And what some people do is bring an empty water bottle and go fill it up on the other side of the checkpoint. So what you could do is just pack one of these in your carry-on, and then when you get on the other side of TSA, go refill it in a water fountain, so you don't have to buy, $7 bottle of water somewhere in the airport.
Some of that Fuji water.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Another thing about it, I have a friend of mine who wanted me to make him kind of a go bag, but with water filtration and the ability to carry water. And I think that'll be something good that you can actually fit into what I used was a camelback for him, but you can fit that in the pockets on that, and then you can fill that up and actually strap it to the back of the camelback like additional water. I mean, things serve a different purpose if you start thinking outside the box with them, especially quality product.
Yep. Yeah, I definitely want to pick up some more of these for my sister. She's a huge runner, likes doing marathons. So this is something that'd be really nice for her too, especially if she's wearing those tight runners, like hoodies, that have those pockets that are, it's so close and form-fitting that you can really only like shove your ID in there. You put an iPhone 6 in there and it kind of bends like the Taurus curve, you know what I mean? So it'd be nice to get her one of these and see if it's more comfortable for her when she's running long distance. And nobody likes being dehydrated, so.
Ryan.
Go ahead.
Where do I get those at? You didn't tell me.
I did. You can get it on Amazon using the affiliate link in my review, or you can go to hydropack.com and buy it from them.
Sweet.
Yep. So it looks like you'll be able to also get this in the 350 size or the 750 size. So this would be like the intermediate size. I didn't mention in the review. So it's an extra $1 for the 750 if you want to carry a whole fifth with you, or you can go $19 and get just the 350 size if this is a little bit too big or cumbersome for you.
Brian, you sound like a drunk calling it a fifth.
Yeah, it's a flat. I mean, what do you expect?
It's 3/4 of a liter.
Some people have been drinking for much longer than they've recently been in science class. So if I say 750 milliliters, they look at me like, what? I go, a fifth. They go, oh, yeah. All right, now I know what you're talking about.
Otherwise, we have to say how many ounces?
How many ounces? Yeah, sorry, metric system screws with people, too. So
well, you're pretty close to Canada. You ought to know what's going on.
Oh, says you. How do I pronounce your name? TJ?
TJA?
TJA? Yeah. So anyway, we don't have any tech or gadget product to talk about this week. We also don't have any listener feedback. Shame on you. I love feedback. Anyway, we're giving away a car P9 on the Firearms Radio Network EDC giveaway. So I want to make sure you guys have heard about that, know about it, and have entered to it. So how do you enter? Be a patron on the Patreon campaign for the Firearms Radio Network, the Gun Guy Radio, This Week in Guns, or We Like Shooting. So all you got to do is just be a patron of one of those. So you just do it once and you're entered. If you really don't want to give us any of your money, I understand that. But you can also use that form on that page and give us your kind of FRN story, kind of like a testimonial how our podcast, this podcast, or any of the podcasts on the Firearms Radio Network has influenced your life. So you can omit personal information if you want to. Use wacky code names, whatever you want. But that gives you an entry also into this giveaway. So it's running till June 30th. And so, of course, there's a car P9 in the kitty, but there's also some alien gear holsters, key bar, hellbent holsters, precision ear, kind of custom molded earplugs. Easy to see targets, Cantu Brenner Designs, Wazoo Survival Gear, and LA Police Gear. Those are all additional sponsors of the giveaway that they're throwing in some sweet swag to go in there, the prize. So I got the link in the show notes, or go to firearmsradio.tv/EDC for the Everyday Carry giveaway. So that about wraps it up for this week. So send questions or comments to myself, podcast@firearmsinsider.tv or cross@firearmsradio.tv. Remember to subscribe and leave us an iTunes review. Check out all the other shows on the Firearms Radio Network at firearmsradio.tv/iTunes. And be sure to visit the Firearms Insider website for reviews. So thanks, guys, for joining me. And Tony, you sound like you do a lot of cool stuff. Do you got a website or somewhere that our listeners can follow you?
Right now, you can follow me on my Facebook page, which is Simon Says Train, just like it sounds, Simon Says Train. I'm in the process of doing the website because really I want to marry it up with these events I'm holding. And it sounds more legitimate if you have a .com or a .tv. Especially when you want to get a larger audience in, which is what I'm working on. So right now it's just Facebook, Simon Says Train.
Nice. So yeah, thank you for coming on the show. It was great hearing from you and all the work you do and your awesome review on a firearm that kind of gets overlooked. And not to make everyone else feel bad, thank you, Chad and TJ, for also coming on the show and contributing what you do.
Yeah.
Thanks. Thanks for having us, even though, we're not super special.
Yeah, we're not super special, or we don't do anything cool, but yeah, thanks for having me.
Always a pleasure. Go ahead.
One thing, though, I also, one of the things about a High Point review is people assume if you buy a High Point, that's the only firearm you own. Right now, I'm buying another pistol for my NRA classes, and I wanted to get something in 9mm that wasn't but something nice. So right now it's a toss-up between a Walther PPQ and a HK VP9. So yeah, one extreme to the other, I think. Yeah.
I don't think that the HK is technically allowed to share the same space as the High Point in your safe.
Pretty much, yeah. It's gonna be funny to set them beside each other and just put pictures on Instagram and really upset people. Oh yeah, I opened up an Instagram account today too. I have no idea what I'm doing. I have no clue. I was at an event and a girl that was 20 said, I don't really go on Facebook. I only go on Instagram. I'm like, Instagram. Okay, yeah, I'll look into that. Yeah, I have no clue, but I posted up some pictures on Simon Says Training. I think I picked up for Instagram is the name. And you guys can go there and watch me end up with pictures of my dog somehow on it or something. I might launch a satellite from Instagram. I have no idea what I'm doing on this thing. But thanks, guys, for having me on the show. I really appreciate it. I told you, TJ, I got a shotgun that I want to post a review of soon.
Yep. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It was definitely awesome talking to you.
One of the Turkish shotguns. Thanks. Appreciate it. Call me up. Yeah, give me something to do so my wife, doesn't have to talk to me.
We look forward to having you on again in the future, that's for sure.
Thanks a lot.
So everyone, have a great week, shoot safe, and I'll catch you on the next episode. Signing out.
Bye.